So if we do that, we get about 1.1. 1.1 repeating, if you want to be real technical, like we've been going over. But then the question that it's actually asking us, crap, what page is this? Because I must have just been working from 140. So in the question they're actually asking us, teacher compares the masses of 10 milliliter samples of each liquid. So what would 10 milliliters of hydrogen peroxide weigh versus if I plug in 10 milliliters of ammonia, right? So you don't really need to find the slope, but whenever I see a line, I'm thinking, oh, let's find the slope. So the sample of, this is actually wrong, the sample of hydrogen peroxide, if we go to one of the right ones, yeah, here we go. The sample of hydrogen peroxide has a greater mass because it has the greater, I think it's both the same volume, right? 10 milliliter. So where's the actual, sorry, we got to, guys, be careful when you're looking at this answer key that you're looking at the right answers. It starts with the question. This is still sample responses. All right, so if you're looking at page 78, how did I end up way back here? My bad. Was it 140 or 147, something like that? Always pay attention to how many points it's giving you, and this was the only reason I was a little afraid of putting the whole answer key up. There's a lot of wrong answers, so you want to look for one that has like 1 point given. So what this should have been is hydrogen peroxide has the greater mass because it's got a greater unit rate. That unit rate is your slope. When we're looking at a proportional graph, the slope is the unit rate. Yeah, so like that compared to 0.6, right, whatever that was, 0.674, like yeah, it is definitely, this has a higher unit rate. And you can compare, well, we know if I plug in 10 milliliters, this will only be 6.74 as a mass. This will be like 10 as a mass. Yeah, sorry, my screen likes to jump when I'm using the touch interaction. All right, other questions, because we are limited on time, or if you guys just want one of the other ones that we did earlier. The scientific notation problems, guys, you do not need to work in scientific notation. You can, but if you don't love working in scientific notation, if setting up this division doesn't really help you because we have only done so much with that, there are tricks, right? And I gave you guys notes about this, I think, but you divide the 9 and the 3, and then you do the subtraction with the powers. So if you look at the answer key of this one, and I forget what page it's on, that's the only problem with me snapping like this, it gives you a possible answer in scientific notation. Or the answer you could type in, standard form, do this division, I think it's 30,000 or 300,000. Yeah, so when you do that, and you can just type in your answer in standard form. You are welcome to type it. It will accept multiple forms of answers. That's also why I wanted us looking at this to see, oh yeah, it will accept all the different, like, volume of cylinders, right? Like big B times height. So find the area of that base and multiply by the height. They're working in terms of pi. So do not multiply by 3.14. Leave it in terms of pi, right? If they still have pi, they did not multiply by 3.14. I'm going to stop talking for a minute, so maybe you look through and find another question that you would like to talk about. If you're staring at the wall, you're definitely not doing anything that would benefit you. We're looking through this PDF for things that still do not make sense to us. You guys want to talk about that graph of like Columbus to Cincy? I don't think yeah, I did not snapshot that question. Anyone on that can tell me what page you're looking at? Like Owen, what page are you looking at? What? Up at the top left. 40? Yeah, so this one already has the answers marked, so I'm going to page up so we can actually talk about it. Here we go. All right, guys, what do you sometimes do when you are taking a long trip? You stop, right? You don't always drive continuously. So each of these graphs has kind of like a blip in the middle of it. That's where like a stop happened, right? In one of these, we were driving, we stopped, but time keeps going, and then we're driving. We're driving, we stop, time keeps going, but distance does not keep changing, and we keep driving. And then the weird kind of middle graph. So amount of gas in the gas tank, should the amount of gas you have be going up or going down? Unless you stop at a gas station. So either the second or the third graph is gonna be our gas. So I'm gonna skip that for now and move on down to distance from Cincy. Since I'm on my way to Cincinnati, should my distance from Cincy be getting smaller or getting bigger? Smaller. So would it make sense for my distance to be getting smaller and then dramatically farther? Not unless I took a really bad wrong turn and didn't realize for a long time. And then somebody should check my GPS, or if I know the difference between north, south, east, and west. So that's not distance from Cincy, so this must be. Meaning, this is our gas because we stopped and got gas. But while you're getting gas, time keeps going. So it wouldn't be a vertical line. Time keeps going while my gas is filling. And these are showing when we stopped to get gas, the distance stopped changing for a moment.
Also, you can see the same little stop on two of the graphs, so you know that those have to both be the distance.
Yeah, they have to be talking about the same thing, right? So distance from Cincinnati versus distance from Columbus and your gas. Other questions? We talk about who what? What page? 56. Guys, I'm so excited we made it. On Monday, you get to take the test, and Tuesday, you get to take the test, and then you're done. You made it. You did it. Well, there's science map on Wednesday. Come on, it's a map test. Like, the map tests aren't a big deal. We take those like 2 or 3 times a year. All right, so match the expressions in the row with the table with its equivalent. And this is where if you want more exponent practice, go into Khan Academy. Search exponents. Do whatever you want. If we have a power times a power, I'm going to skip down to the second one here, and actually I'm going to snapshot it so I can write on things. Guys, again, like scientific notation, you could write this out in its standard form. 5 to the 6th is 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. 5 to the 3rd times 5 times 5 times 5. So how many 5s do we actually have in total there? 9. So I also like to kind of keep track of which problems we talk about when reviewing for the test, because then I can come back and see what was tripping us up. So this one, if I write out my 6 5s and my 3 5s, is obviously going to become my 9 5s. That's what. If I have 6 5s, then cubed, that's those 6 5s times another 6 5s times another 6 5s, which gives me 18 5s. And you could write it all out to help you figure it out. Other questions? Gotta check how long we're in here, because Fridays give me no time. 11:09. Did you guys even notice that my room changed? Not even that. I mean, yes, that all changed. But did nobody, especially you guys, You know, I normally can't see you. I moved my desk over so I can see you guys now. I moved everything this way so my screen's... Well, I did, but like I moved my desk. This desk, because Joe came in and he's like, where'd this desk come from? This has been sitting right here. It was just stopping me from moving this desk over. And I kept having to look at Laurel and Claire through this little crack, and it was really like annoying. So yeah, finally this morning I didn't have any homework to do, and I had kids in here working early. So I did some rearrangement and some spring cleaning, if you will. Ahmad.
Could you also remove the clock with severely inefficient numbers?
It's not inefficient, it's mathematical. But yes, because it could help you on the test, hypothetically.
I like it, but I don't like how they reuse spare roots twice instead of doing it different.
Yeah, they could use like fractional powers or something like that. Yeah.
Every single other one was different, except for two spare roots, like lazy much.
Gus?
Can we get to page 66?
Oh, I was just landing there. Like this?
No, 66.
I'm on 67. You sure you're not talking about like problem? Oh, you're giving me this page number, so I need to add 12. So you're actually on 78. At least I think.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, check the PDF. Ah, I already have this one. Wunderbar. Yes. All right, so check it. If we need to rotate, and we need a reminder of how to rotate, hockey stick method. So if I draw my hockey stick out to D, and then I rotate it counterclockwise, now it brings me over here. If I move my hockey stick out to C, I'm just going to leave that rectangle. To C, 2 and 1, rotate the hockey stick 2 and 1. To go to like B and A, it'll be 2 and 4 or 1 and 4. So 1 and 4, 2 and 4, and then there's my rectangle. But then it tells us that we're going to shift it so that one edge is on the y-axis. So how far could we shift that rectangle to put one of the edges on the y-axis? 1 or 4. So again, you'll have graph paper. And guys, so you're not allowed to use a ruler, but guess what you can use as a straight edge? Another piece of paper. And if you don't believe me, you're like, well, I've tried. Fold it, crease it, and it becomes a lot stronger and a much better straight edge. Can't tell you the amount of times that I've used something that is not a ruler as a straight object. And credit cards kind of make a right angle. Most of them are curved, so you'll have to fix it. But yeah, if you're out and about and you're trying to make mathematical drawings, hi, my name is Micah, and I like to make mathematical drawings when I'm explaining something to my friends. Yeah, use anything as a straight edge.
You're the type of person that would like solve like a really big like math problem that nobody else can solve on a napkin in a coffee shop. Yeah.
And then throw away the napkin because I
throw away
forgot
the
it.
napkin.
Yeah.
And throw in the napkin.
All right. Reminder about this, although I think our class covered this. If you're given 2 points and asked to make an equation, sure, you could graph them on graph paper. But what I want to warn you about is the released items tend to be questions they're not going to use anymore. So this question having a y-intercept of 0, if they're reusing a question like this, which they'll probably do a 2 points, give us the equation question, but it probably will not have a slope of 2, but it probably will not have a y-intercept of 0. So what we should do, my advice here is find your slope, right? Change in y, change in x. Hang on a second, I'm in the middle of something. Change in y, change in x. We know how to find slope. Then set up your y equals mx plus b equation. You pick one of the points. So if I pick the first point and I plug in the y and I plug in the x, what does b need to be for this to be true? 0. It's already true. If I plug in the second point, you don't have to do this, but this is how you can check. If I plug in the second point, y is 6, x is 3. What does b need to be? 0. So our equation, you don't need to put the plus 0, but you could. They won't count it wrong if you do. least I don't think, but you've got the answer key in front of you that if you want to check, like equivalent forms, but I do not think they will care about a little extra plus zero. Will, what's up?
I want to say that when I did like 2x minus 0, it actually came out just as 1. I can't even put it.
So go ahead and leave off the plus zero. I mean, it's unnecessary. So they maybe only give you like a half point because that plus zero is not, it's really not in like simplest form. If you're leaving a plus zero that doesn't need to be there, it can still be simplified. I don't know that they would actually count it wrong though. Like, I'm not saying put a plus zero, it feels silly.
There was like a button on the thing where you could say like check my answer.
Yeah.
And I checked the answer and it said 1.
Well, so by it saying wrong, it might have been giving you half credit, because then like, so even when it marks it wrong, then I think that's when like a human gets involved if they check what the wrong answer was, because there are humans involved in grading your test. A lot of it's done on the computer, but there are humans involved. Ahmad?
So could I technically put 2x plus 1 minus 1?
No, because I mean I wouldn't. I know you're just trying to be funny, but no, we're talking about serious like scores that will either look good or look like, wait a minute, should we be accelerated? Don't be goofy with this test. If you were just writing things on paper for me, you know I'd probably like laugh at it and be like, come on, Ahmad, like this is funny, but it's unnecessary. Don't mess around with the test. All right. Okay.
Can we look at another one?
I would love to.
It's on page 98.
98.
I got it right, but I just don't know how I got it right.
Guys, we turned game night into a cookout last night, and I had such a good time.
I don't know who you told, but I remember being in the room.
Well, because the text messages just started flying in.
Oh, it was during foundations before the test. You're like, blah blah blah, game night.
And canteen tonight. Y'all coming?
I am.
DJ Lee J is gonna be spinning some tunes.
Which one?
DJ Lee J. Lee. Like the 8th grader Lee. Alright, so. What are the possible values of P and Q? So to get to 10 to the 8th, either we're going to have a 10 to the 4th times a 10 to the 4th, or this would be 10 to the 3rd. Now stick with me because I feel like some of you probably aren't listening because maybe you wrote this problem off as not that difficult. 7.5 times 10 to the 4th, I could write out in its standard form of 1, 2, 3, 4. But P times 10 to the Q, that'd be a lot tougher to write out in its standard form. So what we need to remember is that the bases multiply by each other, right? And so do the times 10 parts, but when they multiply with each other, the exponents actually add, right? Because when things to an exponent multiply, they actually add. So the problem is, I need to get 7.5 to turn into 1.5. It needs to get smaller. Or, if I get 7.5 to turn into 150, or 15, right? Any other number that has the 1 and the 5. So stick with me. What if I make P, and guys, this is one that has multiple answers. If I make P 2, actually I like the other colors better. I need to figure out how to change my default colors up here. If I make that 2, the 7.5 times 2 will become 15. So now, what I really want, because I need to move this decimal back, I want to do 10 to the negative 1 to move the decimal back, but then it needs to be 10 to the 8th. So wait, if I have 10 to the negative 1, and I want 10 to the 8th, I should actually make this 10 to the 7th. And if what I just said doesn't make sense, it doesn't have to. Write out, what is this? What is this number? Well, 1 decimal place moved, right? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I need to make this answer equal that answer because they want me. So guys, you can do this through testing out and checking. I need this to be 150 million. Will 15 times 10 to the 7th, I keep thinking I'm going to sit down. I'm like, no, I'm not. Will that come out to be 150 million? If so, we got it. P can be 2. Q, well, how do I get to 7? If this is what I decide I want as my answer, how do I get to this 7? I've already got 10 to the 4th, so now I need 10 to the 3rd. So some of it is just like literally take the form it's in. That makes it a little bit tougher to work. It's easier to compare scientific numbers with each other. But you don't have to work in scientific notation. You can put them back into standard form to help you be able to check answers or just work more easily. Now we could also, if you really want, and this is a totally valid option, take 75,000, figure out what we need to multiply by 75,000 to get 150 million, and then rewrite that number in scientific notation, which I think what number this has to be, 1, 2, 3, 4, no, crap, we said 3 there. 1, 2, 3. So I think this needs to be 2,000. And that's how we get 2 times 10 to the 3rd. Okay, I 100% lied because I looked at the wrong class period over there. 34. I had the 11:09 stuck in my head. So we got 5 minutes. What other questions? Well, yeah, we will.
During the test, I was kind of confused on the milk one. Like, now I get it, like the milk carton.
What page is it?
I think it's like 140.
This is water, not milk.
Oh, not milk, water. Sorry. I always think of like cartons of milk.
I was about to say, I'm confused about where's the milk.
Water.
Got milk? This is a linear function. This is a linear function. So, the store has 20 bottles. They gain the same number of bottles each day, and that happens for 3 days. So 3 days times however many bottles they're getting each day, and now they have 110 bottles. It's a linear function that we need to solve. Does that make sense? So we can say, well, how many bottles did they get in those 3 days? Well, take away the 20, they must have gotten 90. How did they get 90? Divide it by 3. Oh, 30 every day. Other questions? Guys, most of these problems have an answer that is garbage. Like, if you don't know what the right answer is, start with, well, what's the wrong answer? Because the function one we should talk about real quick. I'll circle back to that. But I didn't take a snapshot of that one either. There was one about, like, how do I translate, or how do I do transformations to turn the parallelogram into the other parallelogram? And one of them said scale factor of 1/3. Guys, that would make it smaller. And you can see from the image they give you that you got to get bigger. Throw that answer away, right? And you can use the mark out tool. Like, you can mark answers off of, like, well, it's not that one. Functions must pass the vertical line test. Hey, quick review of functions. So I can guarantee you're going to see a function problem. Even if it's not like this, they might show you graphs and say which of these is not a function. And by graph, I don't mean that they'll always have graph lines. They'll do graph points, right? Like what we've seen in Khan Academy or whatever. A uses the same X twice. The input has 2 different outputs. That makes a vertical line. That fails the vertical line test. It's not a function. It's right there, it's A, it's the first one. Now B is a trapdoor though, because it reuses a number, but it reuses the Y. We're allowed to reuse Y's. You can use the same Y for every single X that you have. That's just a horizontal line when we reuse the the Ys. That's fine. We're okay with horizontal lines. Vertical lines we don't like. Questions aside from Khan Academy? Because yes, I know.
If it's x equals and y is and y would be the input, then
I would switch it around to make it y equals. I would do the math to switch it around to make it y equals. We can deal with x equals lines, but I wouldn't.
Didn't you want to go back to 1?
No, that was the function one. I talked really quickly about the parallelogram, but the function was what I did want to go back to. So they are at ring. Wait, really? Because I don't think they had. Wait, no, this is you guys. Sorry, this was them. Yeah, they're at ring 1070. Let's see how much more lead we get on them. We'll do this. All right, you think we'll close ring 10? Yeah! All right, what about ring 11? Yeah, Akwan, I've never, this whole school year, seen you as animated as you've gotten during Khan Academy. All right, there we are. Ring 11, 31%. So it depends how much more progress 3B made, but we'll check again at Forum.
Let's review right now.
Well, when they checked like an hour ago, they were here. I'm not checking them again until Forum. Anything that levels you up. So if the Mastery Challenge tells you you leveled up because of it, then yes. And I think you can check what skills you've leveled up on. We gotta go. It is time for Gamma. Regular Gamma. What you regularly go to after this. It is the final class of the day. Will be Alpha, which is weird. I was trying to do that to have classes joined up